Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 12th day of August 2021. Check this out, guys. We are 4 weeks away from I started to say the Patriots because of Brady. The Bucks and the Cowboys playing on Thursday Night Football. We are 3 weeks away from college football. Now, Minnesota, and they are hosting Ohio State. I looked at all their starters coming back. They have a shot to win that game. I think that's going to be a very good game. I'm going to talk about the Pac-12 tonight. Not going to make my college football playoff predictions. I think I'm going to do that Monday. I'm going to look a little bit harder into this. I can't decide, folks, whether to pick for that last slot. I can't really decide whether to pick, say, I started to say Oregon because I'm looking at Oregon. Either Ohio State, Clemson for that last slot there. I think A&M is going to make it, and I think that Oklahoma is going to get there. I think those two teams are going to win their conference. So I'll give you that Monday. And but also today, I'm going to talk about the Malice in the Palace documentary on Netflix. Hard Knocks came on last night. That was good. Watch that on HBO. But first, we had a football game tonight, folks. We had a couple football games on tonight. But the one I want to talk about is the one that's currently on right now. And I just want to make some things clear. Okay, what we have here with the Patriots situation between Mac Jones and Cam Newton is a totally different situation than a Trey Lance and a Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me tell you why. If you're Bill Belichick and you're being honest with yourself, they do not have a team. Now, he won't say this publicly, but they don't have a team that can win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they have and if you're being honest, I think they could get to the playoffs. I don't think they have a team skill-wise, playmaker-wise to win the Super Bowl. They made tremendous upgrades at tight end. Nelson Aguilar at wide receiver, Jonnu Smith at tight end. Now Hunter Henry's already hurt again. The 49ers do have a team, if you're being honest, that can win the Super Bowl this year. And you're saying, why are you bringing this up? Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that no rookie quarterback has ever taken a team to the Super Bowl. Mark Sanchez, you Jet fans out there, he took the Jets two AFC championships first couple of years in the league, and Ben Roethlisberger took over a really good Pittsburgh team. I want to say they were like 15-1. The Patriots put them out his rookie year. Put them out of the playoffs there, beat them in the AFC Championship game. The next year, 2004, 2005, 2005, 2006, they went on to win the Super Bowl. The reason why I'm saying this, if you are 49ers, you still want to stay with Garoppolo for as long as you possibly can, not less injury. Now, this situation with Mac Jones, I saw 2 drives. And if you're a Patriot fan and you're talking the first preseason game, and this guy is making his reads that quickly, I mean, Pickles, he's reading the defense. He did get sacked. I saw that last drive there. But the one before that, a lot of rookies hang on to that ball. He threw it away. The Patriots get the field goal. He's running their offense. it's like he was bred, Pickles, at Alabama to run the Patriot offense. It's basically the same offense. I mean, if you pause the TV, Pickles, and you just look and you mute it, and you look at the offense, you look at them going 3 wide, and number 80. I mean, that looked like Danny Amendola and Tom Brady. He's not as quick as Brady is, but he looked as smooth as a guy playing the first preseason game as possible. And he just missed, Pickles. I don't know if you've seen this about 10 minutes ago. A guy on 3rd and 24, he was off by a half a yard. He was off by a half a yard for a 30-yard strike. I like the ability for a player to he threw a guy open, Pickles, in that first 2-minute drive he did. He threw a guy open there, and he hit him, Hankerson or whatever his name is. And then he almost hit another guy down the field, but he's taking his checkdowns. He's going through his reads. He looks better than Jarrett Stidham now. Stidham's been on the system for 2.5 years. I think Cam Newton should be worried. So, again, I know I said that he's going to have to play really well. He's playing really well. He's going to have to play really well to get this job out from a guy that's won an MVP, a guy that's played in a Super Bowl. He's a veteran. But this Mac Jones is running their offense exactly the way Brady would run the offense. They're running the same plays that they did with Brady. And the fact, what you really want from a guy that's a rookie like this is, Pickles, can he catch up to the speed of the pro game? And, Pickles says Mac Jones has a lot of poise for a rookie. Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, he's just like he walked out of Alabama and he changed jerseys. There was one false start in the second drive that I saw him, but the first drive, I think he had one incompletion, and the guy should have caught that ball. But I'm almost as impressed with this guy off of 2 drives in the preseason as I was with Joe Burrow last year, throwing back shoulder passes with no preseason at all, limited training camp, and the ability to go through your reads and get rid of the ball that quick. That's a big part of it right there. That is a big part of it. Now, if he would have shook a defensive end and thrown off the run and made a few big plays down the field, I would not have been impressed with that, because these are vanilla defenses, as I am, Pickles, with what he's shown tonight. You go through your reads, you get rid of the ball quickly. You go through the reads, you get rid of the ball quickly. You live the fight another day. Now, he did get sacked once, I saw that. But you seen the drive before that, taking what they're giving him, and he is really advanced. He's not even playing with the starters. I didn't even see Aguilar, whatever his name is, Nelson Aguilar, I guess is his name. The guy, he wasn't even out there, and I didn't even see any of the tight ends. So that is very impressive. And I'll tell you this. Again, let me emphasize this. If it's that close, we don't see all the practices. I get it. I would probably go with Jones because this team has got more players to be suitable to help Jones out too with Newton. Now, you know, Bill Belichick is a highly competitive guy. He may put in a package for Cam Newton on the goal line. That's very Bill Belichickian. We have Mike Vrabel here, who they put packages in for him. But this race is way more close than I would thought it would have been in April when they drafted Mac Jones. The guy played at one point with 4 first-round receivers, Pickles. And the old adage is usually it's the quarterback that makes the receiver more than the receiver makes the quarterback. And I'm beginning to believe that may have been the case. You know, I don't want to overreact, and I know a lot of people tomorrow on the big sports stations. I got a chance to scoop them, Pickles. I love to get ahead of the big guys. But this guy has got I can already tell now by watching those 2 series that Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, and Bill Belichick, they're going to be very comfortable with what they've been doing for years with Brady, that they're going to be able to do the same thing with this guy. He's already got the acumen. He's already got the speed of the game down. And he looks better than the other quarterback, Pickles, that end up going to Cincinnati from Alabama, the one that won national championships with Alabama. And his name is Andrew, was it McCarron? He looks better than McCarron right now. And the fact that he did go to Alabama, that's a strike against him because the team is so good that he got overlooked. No matter how quick of a release he's got, you know, guys like A.J. McCarron and the other quarterbacks that are just not that good, we'll have to still, you know, the jury's still out on Tua. Tua has a flood of players. We talked about that on Monday. Wide receivers, defense, tight end. He's got everything. Now, he was, you know, we talked about it, COVID last year. He was also coming off a hip injury. So, but this guy looks better than A.J. McCarron right now, Pickles. He looks better than Jared Stidham, who's been in the system for 3 years. Why you say that? Because he gets rid of the ball quicker. He knows where the receivers are. You know, if you're a Patriot fan, you got to be ecstatic. I wouldn't be sleeping tonight if I was a Patriot fan. And, you know, if it's that close, and again, Belichick knows this is not a team that can win. Maybe next year. Ben Roethlisberger won the Super Bowl in his second year as a starter. Patrick Mahomes, his second year as a starter, won the Super Bowl. You know, so it's, yeah. McCarron had the really good-looking girlfriend in the national championship game, but his game never translated. He made some big throws at Alabama. He was on that. You know, I think if they would have won that Auburn game where they had to kick 6, he may have won the Heisman that year. But I'll tell you what, this guy, he's something else, man. And again, this is a different situation than the 49ers. The 49ers have the window right now. So you've got to be ecstatic right there. In other news, okay. Oh, Okay, there's some news out of Seattle that Dwayne Brown, the 35-year-old left tackle, Pickles, is not. He's not been practicing, And according to Pro Football Focus, they got him at an 87 rating. He's anywhere from top 7 to top 10 left tackle in the league. Sometimes he grades a little bit higher than that. He's 35 years old. He has an 87.8 rating to give you an indication of, he's in the last year of his deal. He wants a new deal. But his backup, Pickles, this Jam Arerko Jones, 25-year-old out of Ohio State, he plays left tackle, but now he's been moved to guard, but his tackle grade's like a 54. So they're going to have to find out a way to pay him to protect, to save face with everything they've done to accommodate Russell Wilson up to this. They've got Gabe Jackson in the offseason. They got Gerald Everett at tight end, and I think that'll pay off. And also Jamal Adams. He's been missing practice. We talked about this the other day. Now, I think they're a little bit closer to making this deal done than the Duane Brown situation. Remember, they gave up 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick for Jamal Adams and a safety, an active player. So they're backed into a corner there with him. Now, there was news out on him today, on Jamal Adams, that Mike Garafolo, whatever. He's with the NFL. He says, really good detail on offers from both sides. This thing should be done soon. The Seahawks have offered $17.5 million to Jamal Adams per year. That would be 2.25 higher than Justin Simmons. Simmons is a safety, Pickles, from the Denver Broncos, the highest paid safety in the league currently. So it looks like they're going to be okay there. And I've also read that Seattle Times is reporting now he decides that Russell Wilson is now deciding to restructure, not take a pay cut, but restructure his contract. And I'll say this, Duane Brown, going back to Duane Brown, this is why I'll repay him. According to what I read, he's really holding it down. Wilson loves him. Wilson can turn his back on this guy, okay? And he's already spoke out publicly about it. Andrew Whitworth, this guy will be 36 this year. 3 years ago, Andrew Whitworth, he's 39, by the way. He's the Rams left tackle. He was 36 when the Rams were in a Super Bowl 3 years ago. So, this is probably a good investment. 2-3 year extension there. You kind of backed into a corner. But that being said, I was reading about Seattle, again, with the restructuring with these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson's one of the highest paid quarterbacks currently, cap hit wise, in the NFL. I think he's like top 3. I think he may be second, Pickles, behind only Aaron Rodgers. And I was reading ESPN. They put out an article, the 32 teams that made number one having the best offseason, all the way down to 32 who had the worst offseason. I didn't read everybody else, but I was curious about Seattle's. I know that they did some stuff offensively. Again, I talked about Gabe Jackson and Gerald Everett, but defensively, this ESPN article has got them rated as 28th in the league, towards the bottom. And technically, PFF has rated Duane Brown as the 11th tackle in the league. So, yeah, I mean, they got to do what they got to do. But defensively, and I'm looking for this article where it says that they have they they don't have the pass rush, and they've got rid of quite a few players on defense. Both of their corners. And, I just don't see it, man. They're a team. It looks better every day, Pickles, for the other teams that are in that division. I'm still leaning towards. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is what ESPN says about Seattle. It says the key losses were Shaquille Griffin, KJ Wright, defensive tackle Jaron Reed, Quentin Dunbar, but I think he got cut by his new team. Tight end Greg Olsen, he retired. Their center Justin Britt, Carlos Hyde wasn't a big loss. Top corners, Griffin and Dunbar both out and replaced by a pair of former 49er, often injured Witherspoon, and a converted safety DJ Reed. Seattle did not have a first-round pick, and Ettridge was built a bit of a surprising ad in the second round, as he'll be no higher than a third on the depth chart. So, like I said, they're 28th. Again, I like the 49ers in this division. Judging by this early in the season, I probably would take the Rams. And if you look at what Arizona did with the star power of getting a J.J. Watt, and they upgraded, they got the Raiders center, who's also a Pro Bowler, J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones. They got a better pass rush. They're just not as good up on the back end. Again, they have a quarterback on a rookie contract. I don't trust their head coach, but that doesn't mean that Arizona can't rough up Seattle. Okay, it's a tough division there, and Seattle, for that reason, this reason alone, Pickles, you got to protect yours and get to the other guy. If you can do that and maintain your cornerbacks, you can win a Super Bowl. If your quarterback can get the ball, if you have a competent enough quarterback to make the plays. And that's pretty easy to find out, And, of course, Russell Wilson can make the plays, but he wasn't the issue. Sometimes they had some running back issues. Carson got hurt often last year, very physical runner. But mainly it was their pass rush. That was their defense. And I know that they said he had like 9 sacks, but I didn't see him pressuring anybody, Those might have been a couple of busted plays. I just seen the Rams moving the ball will on them. So, I don't know. I just think that he probably should have adjusted that contract a little sooner. Why would you want to shift it now rather than before March, your contract restructure, and bring in some more defensive players? This guy's making a lot of money, but he's probably don't have the endorsements playing out there on Seattle on the West Coast. But I'll say this. They're not he might win MVP, Pickles, but I just don't see them getting to the Super Bowl with their roster as it is constructed. Pickles. Well, I'm just saying so they could have got more free agents. You look at what Cleveland's done free agent wise. Even Minnesota got some good defensive players free agent wise. They could not lure back Clowney. So they're stuck. They had to pay Jamal Adams. They gave up too much for him. And they've got to pay this Dwayne Brown guy, their left tackle. But they're going to have problems at corner. And they're going to be bad on the road. Now, I'll say this. They're still going to be good in spots there because they've got Wilson and they've got some players on defense. But as far as going really far, I don't see it. Again, 28th in the league in upgrades. I think the 49ers are the team to beat in that division. And I think the Rams are going to look good early. And the other team is Arizona. And Arizona is, again, they've got a good pass rush. I don't think they need a running game, and they really need a better head coach. I looked up the penalties, by the way, in the NFL, and Arizona's like 32nd, Pickles. And the Patriots were number one with all that turnover in players. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So anyways, it is what it is. Yesterday we had Hard Knocks, and, I'll say this. I watched Hard Knocks after the program Tuesday. I had it recorded, Pickles, and I've already listened to a few between going on the internet, Twitter, whatever, and reading about what some of the other sports shows I've talked about. Skip Bayless made a comment about Mike McCarthy looks like he is overweight, and that doesn't look good for the team. And then he got into it with his co-host. She kind of snapped at him. That was trending. Then Colin Cowherd on another show said that he thinks that Mike McCarthy is trying too hard. I watched it. I didn't think that McCarthy was trying too hard. I've watched a lot of these type of shows. The All or Nothing. The Cowboys were in it a few years ago. I felt like that their coach then, who's the offensive coordinator, his name's slipping my mind, Pickles, Jason Garrett, I thought that he was trying too hard with the cursing and stuff. I think McCartney is, I think he makes some good decisions. I think he's saying that we need to monitor Dax. We need to monitor how many snaps he's taken in practice. And Dak was kind of annoyed about that. And then a day later it shows, well, then he's got this strain, and now they're going to get 2 MRIs on. So it actually, in foresight, it looked like that McCartney was doing his job right. So that was one of my big takes. I think people are giving him, I think because he is with the Cowboys, and I think these sports shows, they feel like they have to criticize him just to criticize him. And they got completely much better, by the way, this offseason. Yes, Michael Parsons, he covers a lot of ground. He was the guy that I wanted Dallas to draft. I'm watching this film. Dallas is that's one of the worst Dallas franchise defenses in the history of the franchise. Last year, the defense was horrible under Mike Nolan. And, of course, I mean, yes, you can definitely put that on Mike McCartney. I get that. But Michael Parsons, he's a great player. He's covering a lot of ground. He's another guy. He's picked up to the speed of the game very quickly. He looks good. Zeke Elliott has probably lost 15 pounds. Pickles, he's getting way down the field. I hope that they use Zeke Elliott more in the passing game in that park, By the way, the real good quote from Jerry Jones. He says, I'd rather be considered an overly optimistic, naive person than a negative skeptic. Let me change out my time real quick. Okay, I'm back. All right. So Jerry Jones, love that. Says I'd rather be naive than skeptical than negative. I love that emotional opening and said do anything to win a Super Bowl. Now, if you do anything to win a Super Bowl, pay the money, buy the scouts, and get out of the way and let them pick the players. You're like 80 years old. But, yeah, so Zeke looks good. Prescott was pressing a little bit. he's gained a little bit of weight, but I think it's going to be okay even after this second MRI. I've seen him throw the ball. Even after they talked about this second MRI, he's throwing the ball around. It's not like he's not practicing at all. I think he's fine. He's anxious to get out there, and he's trying to force it. At least, and by the way, did you see that scar, guys? They did a great job prepare. And I listened to Pat McAfee, a former NFL punter. We got a great show, by the way. Very little scar on Dak Prescott's leg. That was a very clean surgery there. And I thought, man, he's going to be okay. I think it's a little bit. Now, I may be totally wrong, and they could be lying to us. It could be, by the way, it looks like the Colts are going to, there's a chance that Wentz plays and possibly Nelson plays for the Colts week 1. So these doctors are doing a pretty good job. So his scar looked good. I think he's going to be fine. Micah Parsons, I can already tell he's going to be a player. I think he's going to help that defense. Lord knows they need it. Van Der Esch is going to feed off of him. Maybe look like he looked close to his rookie year. And also CeeDee Lamb, guys. And I'm not just saying this for I'm not just saying this for the idea of watching Hard Knocks. CeeDee Lamb looked good there. But CeeDee Lamb, they did a scrimmage, and this film leaked out on Twitter of him beating Jalen Ramsey. They did a scrimmage with the Rams. He beat their star cornerback in a zone coverage. I mean, just a perfect cut. He very well may be the number 1 receiver, Pickles. CeeDee Lamb is turned out to be, he's making that big jump. I think you've got to start, if you're in the meeting rooms, explain to Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones's eyes are the same as ours. May need some contact lenses at his age, but we know you're paying Amari Cooper $100 million, but we got to get the ball to the playmakers. This guy may very well be better than Amari Cooper. This may be one of the best offenses in 20 years for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think if their offensive line stays relatively healthy and they start running those deep routes, now I'd cut it in a little bit. I wouldn't cut it that deep. With Zeke Elliott, they've already got a tight end. I've talked about him before. Pickles, I can't remember his name now, that showed up out of nowhere. He's a backup tight end behind Colombo or whatever. I like him better. You've got to throw Zeke the ball more. He kind of looked like close to rookie year Zeke. I think they're going to win the AFC East. Yeah. If this second MRI don't show anything with Dak Prescott, you look at that cornerback Joseph they got from Kentucky. You look at Micah Parsons. They don't have to be top 5 guys. They don't have to be. They could, if they're 15th in defense, which is middle of the road, 15, 16. They can win this division because they're going to overwhelm teams offensively. You see what I'm saying? They got some depth at running back now. If they just keep that line together, defensively, just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. It doesn't have to be nothing crazy. I've been really high on Cleveland, the last few weeks. But I was looking at Buffalo's roster. Buffalo last year got to the AFC Championship game, and they were around 15th to 16th in total defense. And they won the East, the AFC East, and they got to the AFC Championship game. And Buffalo who's got the premium quarterback in their division, and Josh Allen. It's not even close. They went defensive end Pickles, first round, second round. They've got a defensive tackle back from last year who opted out. I think his name's like Star Joko or whatever. Can't remember his name. And they've got their best run blocking offensive lineman. If they can run the ball, they have a Super Bowl team, the Buffalo Bills. But my point is, they were middle of the road defensively last year, and they won their division. I think if Dallas is middle of the road defensively, and Dak, doesn't have any gun shyness about the ankle. I don't think he does, though. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's eager to get out there, and that's how he hurt it. Barwin, I think that's his name, Pickles, the one that we talked about last year. And you got to look at Buffalo. I've talked about Gabriel Davis. They picked up Emmanuel Sanders. They still got Cole Beasley. Stephon Diggs is a star. He was on the general manager. I think his name's Brandon Beane, was on the Pat McAfee show for Buffalo. And McAfee baited him, and he said, well, what about you guys making a trade for Mike Thomas? And the guy laughed and said, well, Mike Thomas is a good player, but he said, we inquire on everybody. 99% of the time, nothing happens, but that 0.1%, you never know. And then later on today, I heard that Mike Thomas and Sean Payton kind of made amends, so they're going to try to work things out. I think that's simply just to that is simply just for PR purposes, I think. But anyways, I think the national media is a little hard on McCartney. McCartney has won a Super Bowl. He's better than Jason Garrett. I'm not saying he's not mistakeless. He brought in Mike Nolan, and that was a disaster. But he's got Dan Quinn now, and I think that there's a lot more positive from that Dallas than negative. I think that Oxnard, California, has got a lot of Dallas fans. I'll tell you that. But if you're a Dallas fan today, you've got to be optimistic. Especially if Dak comes back. I think you're going to be fine. And if you're a Patriot fan, you got to be optimistic. I mean, those are good things. Okay. Netflix had the Malice in the Palace documentary. November 19th, Pickles, 2004. That was on a Friday. And I remember coming home from college that day, right around Thanksgiving. And seeing this brawl in Detroit, and the main thing I got about that is a couple of things. Is Donnie Walsh, the general manager for that 2004 Indiana Pacer team, a lot of that fault is on him, and he admitted it. He said, "I should have never put." Donnie Walsh, the general manager of Indiana Pacers, he said, I should have never put a young Steven Jackson, Ron Artest, and Jermaine O'Neal together. And he did have one veteran in Reggie Miller. But my opinion, and he kind of owned it, is that Donnie Walsh should have had a Bill Cartwright, a Udonis Haslem, a 7-footer that's about 35, 40 years old. He plays 2 or 3 minutes a night. He keeps the young guys in line. He's the muscle for the coach in case you need it. And he's there to break up any fights, potential fights. He's there for wisdom through the ups and downs of an 82-game season. That's the biggest take I got of that, And another part is mental health and stuff. I mean, Ron Artest said he said he had anxiety and depression problems. He just started therapy. Just before all that happened in Detroit. And he said that, leading up to that, he wanted to take some time off. He said that he was coming into some money. Remember, they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost in 6 to the Detroit Pistons the year before that. Great block by Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, Pickles, Rasheed Wallace, you name it, Chauncey Billups, those guys. Very good defensive team. Very tough Larry Brown coach team. I love that. And remember, they beat the Lakers in 5 that year. And he was pushing this music thing and this girl band, this R&B female artist band, and he was overworked, and he noticed that he was having anxiety and depression problems, and it was simple burnout. And I've had it in college, I've had it post-college. This is signs of burnout. When you have worked, guys, I've worked. You do, when you're in college, you do 2 hours for every 2 hours you're in class. You got to do 2 hours out of class to study, right? I was taking 18 hours one semester, working 24 hours on the weekend. Sometimes I would work 32 hours doing security. I did that for one semester. And then I wanted to get some more hours. So I want to take my winter break and go study abroad in Mexico 1 year. And I was going to get 10 more hours. I was really trying to get through college and get it over with and done. I couldn't stand it. But I ended up just totally burned out, spent about a week there. They said it was going to be easy, and it was much more difficult than what it was. The person who was over that and through Austin Peay. And I hopped on a plane, came back home. I was totally burnt out. But that was the sense then that I got from Ron Artest, minus the stuff we know about his mental health. And that's the sense I have now by watching it, that he was burnt out. Plus he had his anxiety and stuff. So as a part of his therapy, he apologized. Remember, he changed his name to Metta World Peace and all that. He later went to the Lakers, won a championship. Jermaine O'Neal, he was really irritated. Jermaine O'Neal is much more alpha dog than I thought. Listen to these interviews, and Steven Jackson felt like that Artest let the team down, and so did O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal was going to jump on Artest, Pickles, after this happened, because O'Neal was very focused and wanted to win, and Artest was just a loose cannon. But both of them were very young, very young. They didn't have a Bill Cartwright. They didn't have a Udonis Haslem. They didn't have a Robert Parrish. They didn't have a Bill Laimbeer. That's what they needed. That was all. That's all on Donnie Walsh, the general manager, guys. So my thing is, what was very interesting is that as part of his therapy and his peace from within, years later, Ron Artest, he went and found this guy, by the way, who the cameras found out who the guy was who threw the bottle on Artest. This guy's name was John Green, and the authorities, he got arrested for 30 days. What did they charge him with, Pickles? Let's see. I want to say they charged this guy with some kind of assault battery. He got 30 days in jail. He got 2 years probation. So Ron Artest finds this guy, Pickles, and he calls this guy. His name is John. This is all over the internet. John Green. This wasn't a documentary, but I looked it up on my own. And he calls John Green, and John Green's wife answers. And she said, honey, it's you got a telephone call. This guy says he's Ron Artest. And the guy, Pickles, John Green, said, oh, hey, Ron Artest, what's up, man? How you doing? And he says, Ron Artest says that was so funny that he said the guy's like me, actually. So long story short, Artest forgave the guy, and now they're friends. Now, if you would have said that, I would have never believed that in a million years. But this was in a documentary, but this did happen. This was left off the Malice in the Palace. He said that, it's part of my therapy, Metta World Peace now. And he says, I really feel bad for not looking back. Now, he's much more mature now. I think he takes like medication or whatever, still does therapy. He wished he could have helped Jermaine O'Neal win a championship. Because remember, later on, he won a championship with the Lakers. I want to say like 2009 or 10 when Kobe won one of those two. But that was under Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson's brother was a psychologist, Pickles. So a lot of coaching is psychology, man. We talked about Jimmy Johnson the other day. He was a psych major, the football coach, Jimmy Johnson. So anyways, that is all I have to say about that. It was a good documentary. It didn't go in enough to it, but I felt like that, all things considered, I think the commissioner handled it well. They went to the dress code after that. Jermaine O'Neal tried to hint around with the racism thing, but, really, for people calling them thugs and stuff, but really, you got to be accountable. I understand. I would be ticked off if some jerk threw a water bottle at me and hit me with that, but you got to get security. And now the NBA is better for that. They got more security, and they're banning these people, and I like the fact that the NBA got with the police department, and they got that guy arrested, and he did 30 days in jail. So it all's well as in well. It was an unfortunate situation, but I'm moving on. Okay. Pac-10, Pac-12. I'll tell you. Yeah, you can't brawl in the stand. And now they've got security, Brian, and just stroll the guys out. And I'm glad that the camera found the guy, the investigator from the police department. They hunted the guy down. They found him. 30 days, 2 years probation, and now him and Ron Artest are friends. Unbelievable. So anyways, I'm not going to give my predictions today. I'm going to study the college football playoff a little bit closer because I don't have a strong conviction. I'm leaning on maybe picking Oklahoma to win the whole thing in college football. But also I'm looking at Clemson guys. They got 9 starters back on defense. One of their players is the number 1 recruit in the country. And you guys know how good a defensive coordinator Brett Venables is. And they got enough play with their mobile 5-star quarterback, DJ. I can't say his last name. It might as well be Giannis Antetokounmpo. They could win the national championship this year. Oklahoma with Spencer Rattler is possibly going to be the number 1 overall pick. Big-time Heisman candidate. They're, according to Phil Steele, their defense has gotten about 3 points better every year since Lincoln Riley's been there. So they have a chance to win a national championship. They can move the ball on anybody in the country. I like Texas A&M to win the SEC with 1 loss. They'll win the SEC, so they're going to get in that way. I don't know if Ohio State I don't know whether to put Ohio State or Clemson in. So that's where I'm at. And, of course, Alabama, I think they'll lose early. I think they'll lose early to A&M, but they'll be like Alabama down the stretch, folks, and then not lose another game. So would you put a 1-loss Alabama team in over a 1-loss Clemson or Ohio State who's won their conference? And all that's going to be with strength of schedule. So maybe I would put an Alabama in over a Clemson because Clemson's strength of schedule coming into the season is 72nd, according to Phil Steele. It's in the 70s. That's really high. They don't play on. They've got to get up twice a year, guys. They got a very good game, the first game of the year against Georgia, which that's going to be a really good game. And they're favored. They're playing in Charlotte. It's supposed to be air quote neutral site. So, but I'm going to talk about the Pac-12 tonight. Phil Steele's number 1 team to bounce back is Washington Huskies. I disagree there. I'll probably regret this, but I don't know enough about Jeremy Lake, the second-year coach there. I know they've got 10 starters coming back on offense. They've got 8 on defense. Washington does. They've got a tough schedule. I think they can lose at Michigan in week 2, but they've got Oregon at home this year. I see what Phil's still saying. They've got Washington State on a Friday night at home this year. Washington does. They play at Oregon State, at Arizona on Friday night. I think they could possibly lose at Arizona on a Friday night. Those Friday night games are those Thursday night games, guys, and those Friday night games, guys. The home team, I've seen more upsets in college football on those games, it seems like, than any other game, especially if a team's got a good defense, the crowd's in it, the students are in it. Could Washington? I don't know. I'm just not sure. I think Michigan has – this may be the best quarterback that Jim Harbaugh's had. And this game is being played at Michigan. But I do not think Washington's going to beat Oregon. Oregon has had and I'm going to talk about Oregon here in just a second. I mean, they're top 7, top 8 every year under Mario, was it Cristobal? Yeah, Mario Cristobal, Justin Herbert. Now, he's a good recruiter, Jimmy's and Joe's, but he's not necessarily X's and O's. We saw how bad Justin Herbert looked as an Oregon Duck. Now he looks like an all-world guy. But I think Washington does not have the talent level of and I may be wrong here, of an Oregon. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to talk about Oregon in a minute. Because I've never heard of this Dylan Morris guy. He's a freshman quarterback. I think he's a red shirt guy. Dylan Morris back at quarterback from 2020. They lost to Stanford at home last year. I'm thinking 9-3, 8-4 for Washington. Could be wrong there. But I don't know enough about this Jimmy Lake guy. I like Chris Peterson, Pickles. I like Chris Peterson, but I don't know enough about Jimmy Lake to make that kind of prediction. Okay, Oregon. Okay, here I want to pick Oregon to win the Pac-12. That's not saying a lot. Okay. They are, again, last year, 6th ranked class in the country, not in the conference, in the entire country. Remember, Penei Sewell was the top 10 NFL draft pick last year. But they got 9 offensive starters back, 7 on defense. The 2020, they had the 11th ranked class in the country, Oregon did. 2019, 7th. 2018, 13th. That's pretty good. This is the 4th year for Cristobal. This guy can recruit like nobody's business, okay? Now, they were 12-2 in 2019 and just barely lost to a good Auburn team that year. And last year, 4-3, it was COVID. You're going to have a season. You're not going to have – I don't worry about that. But week 2, Oregon plays at Ohio State. I talked about this the other day, and to start off the program, I think Ohio State will either lose this home game to Oregon. Ohio State has a first-year starter, Anthony Brown, the senior for Oregon, is he's been there for a while, been there for a few years. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, okay? I think that Ohio State will lose one of those games, either week 1 at Minnesota, or they'll lose this home game to Oregon. If they win those games, they really got a clean shot. Depending on what happens in the championship game, I think they're going to play Wisconsin in a championship game. But I think Oregon can win this game at Ohio State. So Oregon, that's one of their tough games. They got to play at Washington. I think they'll beat Washington at Washington. They got Washington State at home. Could lose to Utah. Could slip up at Stanford. Stanford's always, Shaw's always got a good running game there. Been known to beat Oregon many of years in the past. We know that. But I'm telling you guys, from a talent perspective, it seems like Oregon has simply separated themselves from the rest of the conference. I'm going to talk USC in a minute. I feel like that they've set, that, like I said, again, 12-2 in 2019. They're probably maybe 9-3. Either way, they're going to win. They're going to win the Pac-12. They're probably not going to have enough to get into the playoff this year, but they're going to be a fun, competitive team. And, maybe somebody else goes after Cristobal. Maybe this is the year where they do play better on the road and then they do get a shot in the playoff. If they go up there and stomp a mud hole in Ohio State. Remember one year, guys, Oklahoma went to Ohio State and just manhandled them. Because the year before that, Ohio State went to Oklahoma and manhandled them. So that's going to be a great game. September 11th, Pickles. Unfortunate date there. That'll be week 2. That's one I'm going to look for. Oregon at Ohio State. All right. Now, USC. Every year, they were 8-5 in 2019, 5-1 last year, and 5-7 in 2018. Clay Helton is hanging on by threads. But I think this year, they had a really good class this past year, 7th ranked in the country. But in 2020, people thought Clay Helton was going to get fired, these recruits, Brian, and they were 64th in the country in recruiting. And then 2019, they were 20th, and in 2018, they were 4th. So Clay Helton does just enough not to get fired. Remember that from Office Space, that line? The guy said, so what do you do all day? He said, sir, I just do just enough not to get fired. And I think this year could be that year where they hit a wall that UCLA may knock them out. They got to play at Notre Dame this year. I'm always going to favor Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's got a better program now. At Washington State, now Mike Leach is gone. At Colorado, they have a pretty friendly schedule. Phil Steele's got it ranked 24th, but there's not a lot of tough road games other than Arizona State, Notre Dame. This could be one of those years where he does just enough to get by. Now, they do play BYU and UCLA this year, so we'll see. They're not going to get to the playoff. They're not going to do anything like that. They're not the team that Pete Carroll had. Not even in the early Lane Kiffin days. I'm just not too high on USC. This guy's 7 years and they still haven't fired him. It's just, how bad do you want change there in USC? So maybe with this NIL and them being close to being in Los Angeles and all that, maybe that will change things. We'll see. But I'm just not very high on them. They did have a good year. That was in conference though last year. I don't even know who they lost to last year. I wasn't even paying attention. Of course, Oregon at home, of course. Yeah, Oregon is the class of the Pac-12. Especially with Chris. Think about it now. Think how low the Pac-12 is. Chris Peterson is retired, which hopefully he'll come back. Mike Leach is now coaching at Mississippi State. He used to be the Washington State coach now. So that's 2 big names off right there. Hold on, everybody. Let me get low on time here. So, but I'll tell you what, guys, I thought about this all day. I'm going to study it a little bit more over the weekend because that Georgia, going back to the playoff, a big part of the playoff could be in week 1, Clemson, Georgia. If, for instance, if Georgia wins that game and they run the table, Pickles. If Georgia beats Clemson on Labor Day weekend, they run the table and they lose to, I just said Texas A&M or an Alabama, and a close field goal, one-score game, do you put Georgia in with the SEC champ in the playoff? And, I mean, my answer would be yes. But there's also a school of thought. You rather lose early than late. So my school of thought would be, okay, say if Texas A&M beats Alabama in Texas A&M, and they lose to an Ole Miss or somebody, an LSU in a close game, Texas A&M, but they hold on and they beat Georgia or Florida, but I think it's going to be Georgia, in the SEC championship game. They've won the conference. Do you put them in and say Alabama only loses that close Texas A&M game? Do you put two SEC teams in the playoff? I would say yes. Kiffin, you guys are talking about Kiffin. Kiffin lies about everything. He claims that his whole team is vaccinated. We'll see. They put 40-something points on Alabama last year. I think his name is Matt Corral. His quarterback is another quarterback that could be drafted early in the first round. That is all true, okay, for Lane Kiffin. I interviewed a guy's son who is playing at Clarksville High School. He's 6'3", going into the 9th grade. His favorite quarterback to emulate would be Dan Marino. He's a very young kid, but his dad is a few years older than me. He's in his mid-40s, and he was showing him Dan Marino YouTube highlights. This kid wants to go play for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. So they're going to have an air raid. Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team could beat this Texas A&M team. So it's between not A&M. It's between Clemson, Ohio State, and those two SEC teams with that Oklahoma team. I think Oklahoma's going to be really good this year. The coaches poll, I want to say they're like third, and I want to say Clemson in the coaches poll is second. And of course, Alabama's number one. Here's another fun fact for you guys. I want to say out of the last 20 years, the preseason number one's only won like 4 or 5 times. So I don't think Alabama's going to win it this year. Could be wrong. They've lost a lot of players on offense. They have a first-year starter. They have another new offensive coordinator. Now, Bill O'Brien's good. He's a good offensive, but the odds are against them. It's not as much as Kansas City, again, going to the pro game, because the odds, the bookmakers guys have the Chiefs going favored to go back to the Super Bowl for a third straight year. Well, since 1994, when the NFL salary cap was implemented, no team, including the Patriots, no team has ever been to 3 straight Super Bowls. You ask about Buffalo Bills, they went from 1990 to 1993 season. The salary cap was implemented in 1994. I want to say it was not even 5 teams in college football that were preseason number one that went on to win the national championship. Go figure. So I'm going to figure out which team to put in there. I'm going to do a little bit more studying. I'll give you guys that answer on Tuesday. I want to be as precise as I possibly can about that. It's between those 5 teams. I've got to pick 4 and see how all that shakes out. But I definitely like Oklahoma this year. I like Oklahoma this year to get there. And I still like A&M to get to the championship in the conference anyways. And Clemson, that's an easy take. Yeah, Clemson I feel like Oregon has separated themselves in the Pac-12 this year, and I think Clemson has separated themselves for this year in the ACC. Okay, and really you could say that about I don't know, maybe Wisconsin can give Ohio State a run this year. Wisconsin under Paul Chris Bryan, their recruiting has gotten better every single year under him. So they're going to be a team to watch, and they're one of Phil Steele's bounce back teams. What if they knock out? What if they're a one-loss team or an undefeated team and they knock out Ohio State in the championship? Well, you got to put them in. You know, the Badgers are they're going to be one of the better teams in all of college football this year. I haven't even looked at Notre Dame, so I'll talk about Notre Dame Monday and maybe Cincinnati or somebody, but definitely give you guys a college football playoff. If you like the show, share the show. If you want to contribute to the show, go to the ZELLE app, the word sports, the word scope at gmail.com. If you guys want to watch me on 7:30 a.m. Central Time Sundays, I'll be on the Mac and Jack show. We'll talk about this week in sports. Hopefully they'll ask about Mac Jones. He looks really good. I mean, that was really good today. I was really shocked that's the first preseason game, guys. And this guy is getting rid of the ball. He's going through his reads. He looks seasoned out there. So anyways, have a good night, everybody. If not, I will be back here around 9 p.m. Central Time. Maybe give me about 10 minutes before on Tuesday. And we're going to get into this college game. I'm going to knock this out. Then we're going to get into the pro game. I'm more confident about the NFC. I have more of a feeling. But again, Buffalo, Cleveland, in the AFC, I'm just not sure. I know it's going to be one of them. I just know it's going to be one of them. Maybe Tennessee if they get but Kansas City, I've told you those stats. You know, I know records and stuff and all that's made to be broken, but their guard is going to be out at least to the beginning of the season. He got hurt, and they're replacing 4 offensive linemen. So that's, you know, I'm going to take my time with the NFL because I want to be precise on it. You got guys doing parlays now. Pat McAfee's doing a parlay pickles with FanDuel with 7 teams to win their division. One of them he had the Colts, and I think he had Washington, and $250 parlay pickles. And if he wins this, it will pay $32,000. I may look into that myself. So, anyways, guys, y'all have a good night. I will see you Tuesday around 9 p.m. Central Time, give or take. More likely, give about 10 minutes early here on Sports Scope.